Now, one of the most important things that you've got to remember when you're doing a maths exam is to look at how they want you to leave the question, so how they want you to leave your answer. So normally they ask you to round to decimal places, or they could ask to round to significant figures, which I'll look at in a different video. But we're going to look at rounding to decimal places right now. So what we're going to look at is 1 decimal place, 1 dp, I've shortened it, 2 and 3. So if you start off with this number 0.1523, then if we're going to round to 1 decimal place, then we look for the decimal point and we're looking for the first digit after the decimal point. So our number is going to be 0 point something. And if we're running to 2 decimal places, it's going to be 0 point something something. And if we're running 3 decimal places, it's going to be 0 point something something something, because we need 3 decimals. Okay, so going back to 1 decimal place, so I need it to be 0 point something. Now we look at the first decimal, and that is a 1. So we need to decide if that's going to be 0.1 or 0.2, and we decide that by looking at the number to its right. And if that number is 5 or more, this rounds up to the next number, so a 2. And if it's 4 or less, it stays as a 1. Now the number next to the 1 is a 5, so therefore this number rounds to a 2. So 0.1523 rounds to 0.2. Moving on to 2 decimal places, so we are looking for the second decimal, which is the 5. So we're going to have 0.1, and then it's the 5 that is going to round. And we need to decide if it's going to be 0.15 or 0.16. Now we look at the number to its right, which is a 2. That is 4 or less. So we know that that stays as a 5. Finally, last one. It has to have 3 decimal places. It needs to be 3 decimal places long. So we know it's going to be 0.15, because they aren't going to change. And this is the 3rd decimal. Now it's got a 3 next to it, so that is 4 or less, which means that again is going to stay as it is. So it's going to stay as a 2. So if you want it rounded to 1 decimal place, your answer has to have 1 decimal place. 2 decimal places has to have 2. 3 it has to have 3. But you need to apply the rounding to that decimal place in question. Right. Going on to a next example, we have 25.0159. Now, what might confuse people is that we have a 2 and a 5, which are in front of the decimal point, but that doesn't matter. Okay, so at 25, we are interested in the digits that come after. So we're 1 decimal place, we're looking for the first decimal, which is a 0. Okay, so we need to decide if that's going to stay as a 0 or if it's going to become a 1. And we look at the number next to it, which is a 1. So in theory, that should stay as a 0. Now, the biggest misconception is that people don't believe that because it's 0, they don't believe they have to put a 0 in. But you do, because if you forget to, you lose a mark. Because you have to give it to 1 decimal place. So there has to be 1 digit after that decimal point. Okay, moving on to 2 decimal places. 25.01. So it's this digit we're interested in. So 25.0. And then we need to decide if this 1 is going to stay as a 1 or move up to a 2 by looking at this digit next to it. It's a 5, which from what we learned, if it's 5 or more, this moves up to the next digit up. So therefore this becomes a 2. So to 2 decimal places, it's 25.02. And the last one. Again, we have to put in the digits before, 25.01, and then we need to decide on the 3rd decimal place. So, 3rd decimal place here is the 5. It has a 9 next to it, so we have to decide if that's going to stay as a 5 or move to a 6. It has a 9 next to it, which is 5 or more, so this changes to a 6. So, just to clarify, when you have to give your answer to 1 decimal place, you have 1 decimal point, 1 number after the decimal point. 2, you have 2 numbers. 3, you have 3 numbers, and you have to apply the correct rounding. Normally it is only the decimal place that you are rounding to that should change.